The fog pressed against the glass like a living thing, thick and gray, swallowing the city 42 floors below. Blake Montgomery watched it, his reflection ghosting back at him. 38 years old. 3,000 employees. Hundreds of millions in the bank. And not a single person who looked at him without wanting something. The intercom crackled. "Your 4 o'clock is here, Mr. Montgomery." He turned from the window, straightening his tie. Another interview. Another rehearsed smile. Another person who would see dollar signs instead of a man. Then she walked in. Arya Carter moved like water, fluid and unhurried. Navy dress, simple ponytail, no jewelry except a small silver cross at her throat. But her eyes. God, her eyes were honey-colored and sharp, studying him the way a chess player studies the board. "Mr. Montgomery." Her handshake was firm, warm. "Real." He gestured to the chair. She sat without fidgeting, without the nervous energy the others had brought. He scanned her resume. Berkeley. 5 years at a law firm. Excellent references. Then a 6-month gap that made him pause. "Tell me about this." He tapped the paper. Something flickered across her face, gone before he could name it. "My mother was sick. Cancer. I took care of her until the end." No tears. No plea for sympathy. Just facts delivered in a voice that knew what loss tasted like. Blake felt something shift in his chest. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you." She met his eyes. "But I'm here because I'm the best at what I do. Not because I need pity." He almost smiled. "Tell me why you want this position." "I don't." Her answer hit like a slap. "I need it. There's a difference. I need the salary to pay off my mother's medical bills. But if you hire me, you'll get someone who knows the value of loyalty. Someone who understands that showing up is half the battle." Blake leaned back in his chair. Everyone else had gushed about the opportunity, the prestige, the chance to work with him. She was the first to be brutally honest. "You're hired." Arya blinked. "Just like that?" "Just like that." "Can you start Monday?" She stood, extending her hand again. When their palms touched, Blake felt warmth spread up his arm. "I'll be here at 7. 8 is fine. 7 is better." The corner of her mouth lifted. "I like getting ahead of the chaos." As she left, Blake returned to the window. The fog was lifting, revealing the bay in strips of gray and blue. For the first time in months, maybe years, he felt something other than hollow. His phone buzzed. Owen Foster, his best friend and business partner. "Dinner tonight? Need to talk about the merger." Blake texted back. "Sure. I just hired someone interesting." "Interesting how?" Blake stared at the door Arya had left through. "I don't know yet. That's what makes it interesting." 3 weeks later, Blake stood in his office at midnight, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. Coffee had gone cold in his cup hours ago. A security breach. Their flagship product compromised. The press would have it by morning. Arya appeared in the doorway, still in her work clothes but hair falling loose now. "Legal is on standby. I've got PR drafting 3 response scenarios. Tech team says they can patch it in 6 hours. 6 hours. Blake ran a hand through his hair. "We'll be crucified by dawn. Not if we get ahead of it." She crossed to his desk, pulling up files on her tablet. "We admit the breach. Own it immediately. Offer free security upgrades to all affected clients. Show we're solving it, not hiding it." Blake stared at her. "That's exactly what we need to do." "I know." She looked up, and in the harsh office lighting, he could see the exhaustion in her face. But also something else. Fire. That's why I'm still here. They worked through the night, side by side. Arya coordinating teams with calm efficiency while Blake handled the technical details. At 3 in the morning, when the crisis was finally contained, he looked across the desk at her. She'd kicked off her heels. Her ponytail had come completely undone. There were shadows under those honey eyes. But she was smiling at him with something that felt dangerously close to pride. "We did it," she said softly. "You did it." Blake couldn't look away from her. "I just followed your lead." The air between them went still. Heavy. Charged with something Blake hadn't felt in so long he'd forgotten its name. Arya stood abruptly, gathering her things. "I should go. It's late." "Arya." She stopped at the door, hand on the frame. Didn't turn around. "Thank you," Blake said. "For tonight. For everything." Her shoulders rose and fell with a breath. "Good night, Mr. Montgomery." She left. Blake sat alone in the silence, his heart beating too fast, his carefully constructed walls beginning to crack. His phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "You should be more careful who you trust. Arya Carter isn't who she says she is." Blake stared at the screen, ice flooding his veins. Who was Arya Carter? And what had he just invited into his life? Blake stared at the anonymous text until his vision blurred. The office felt too small suddenly, the walls pressing in. He should delete it. Ignore it. People sent anonymous messages all the time, jealous competitors trying to sow discord. But his finger hovered over the delete button and wouldn't press down. At 7 the next morning, Arya walked in with 2 coffees and a folder of morning briefings. She looked fresh, put together, like she hadn't been awake until 3 coordinating a corporate crisis. The smile she gave him was warm and genuine. "Morning. I stopped by that place on 4th Street. They make it the way you like." Blake took the coffee. It was perfect. She'd remembered after 3 weeks exactly how he took his coffee. "Thank you." Something in his voice made her pause. "Everything okay?" "Fine." The lie tasted bitter. "Just tired." Arya studied him with those sharp honey eyes, and for a moment, Blake was certain she could see straight through him. Then she nodded and launched into the day's schedule. But he couldn't focus. He watched her as she spoke, cataloging details. The silver cross at her throat. The simple watch on her wrist. The way she pronounced certain words with the barest hint of an accent he couldn't place. "Who are you really?" That evening, Blake did something he'd never done before. He hired a private investigator. Marcus Webb was discreet, expensive, and thorough. He sat across from Blake in a downtown bar, sliding a thin envelope across the table. "Your secretary is clean," Marcus said. "Mostly." Blake's stomach tightened. "Mostly?" Arya Carter isn't her real name. She changed it legally 6 years ago. Before that, she was Arya Volkov. The world tilted. Blake gripped his glass. "Volkov? As in Dmitry Volkov?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Your former partner. The one who tried to steal your patents and start a competing company. The one who nearly destroyed you before you destroyed him." Blake's vision went white at the edges. Dmitry Volkov had been his first major hire, someone he'd trusted completely. Until he discovered Dmitry was secretly developing identical technology, planning to use Blake's own innovations against him. The legal battle had been vicious. Blake had won, but barely. "She's his daughter," Blake said, the words scraping his throat. "Half-sister, actually. Different mothers. She was 19 when the lawsuit happened. Dropped out of college, changed her name, built a new identity." Marcus leaned forward. "The question is, why is she working for you now?" Blake stood. The bar spun around him. "I need to go." "Blake." Marcus grabbed his arm. Be careful. If she's here for revenge. I know. Blake pulled away. I know. He drove through the city in a daze, rain hammering the windshield. The pieces fit together now. The gap in her resume. The way she'd been almost too perfect, anticipating his needs, becoming indispensable. She'd planned this. All of it. But the late nights working together. The genuine warmth. The way she'd looked at him at 3 a.m, exhausted and triumphant. Had that all been an act? Blake parked outside his building and sat in the dark, rain drumming on the roof. His phone buzzed. A text from Arya. Hope you're okay. You seemed off today. Here if you need to talk. He stared at the message. 7 words that could be either sincere concern or masterful manipulation. He didn't know which scared him more. The next morning, Blake arrived before Arya. He went through her desk with shaking hands, hating himself but unable to stop. Files perfectly organized. Notes in neat handwriting. A framed photo of an older woman, pale and smiling despite her obvious illness. Her mother. Or was it? Looking for something? Blake spun. Arya stood in the doorway, still in her coat, rain glistening in her hair. Her face was calm, but her eyes were hard. Who are you? Blake's voice came out hoarse. You know who I am. Do I? Because I just found out your real name is Arya Volkov. The color drained from her face. For 3 heartbeats, neither of them moved. Then Arya stepped into the office and closed the door behind her. I can explain. Explain what? That you lied your way into my company? That you're Dmitry Volkov's sister? That everything between us has been part of some revenge plot? No. Her voice was sharp now, cutting. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Blake was shouting now, months of loneliness and hope curdling into rage. Tell me. Arya dropped her purse, her composure finally cracking. Yes, I'm his half-sister. Yes, I changed my name. And yes, I came here with a purpose. But not the one you think. Then what? Blake advanced on her. What could possibly justify this level of deception? She met his fury with her own. He's dying, Blake. Dmitry is dying of pancreatic cancer, and he has 6 months to live. Maybe less. Blake stopped cold.
Arya's eyes were bright with unshed tears. He sent me here to make amends. To tell you he was sorry for what he did. To try to earn your forgiveness before he dies. That's convenient. Blake's voice was ice. He nearly destroyed me, and now that he's dying, he wants absolution? He wants peace. Arya's voice broke. And so do I. Do you know what it's like watching someone you love eaten away by regret? By the knowledge that they ruin lives and can never make it right. So you lied to me. Wormed your way into my trust. Made me feel. Blake cut himself off. Made you feel what? Arya took a step toward him, her voice dropping to something raw and dangerous. Say it. The air between them crackled with electricity. Rain battered the windows. Blake could smell her perfume, something subtle and clean that had haunted him for weeks. Made me think I could trust someone again, he said quietly. Made me think maybe I wasn't alone. Arya's face crumpled. Blake, get out. The words came out flat dead. Clean out your desk. I'll have security escort you. Blake, please. Let me explain everything. The whole truth. I said get out. She grabbed his arm, desperate now. I fell for you, you idiot. That wasn't part of any plan. That was real. Blake looked down at her hand on his sleeve, then into her honey eyes shining with tears. Every instinct screamed at him to pull her close, to believe her. That's what made her dangerous. How convenient, he said softly, that you fell for the mark. He watched something die in her eyes. She released his arm, stepped back, nodded once. When she spoke, her voice was hollow. You're right. I shouldn't have lied. But you should know something. She paused at the door. Dmitri never sent me. I came on my own. Because I thought if I could help you, work for you, prove that not everyone with the Volkov name was poison, maybe I could live with myself. Maybe I could stop feeling responsible for my brother's sins. Your brother tried to destroy me. I know. Tears spilled down her cheeks now. And I've spent 6 years trying to atone for it. But I see now that some things can't be forgiven. She left. The door clicked shut with devastating finality. Blake stood alone in his office as dawn broke over the city, wondering why winning felt so much like losing. 2 weeks crawled by like years. Blake buried himself in work, stayed at the office until midnight, avoided his empty penthouse. Patricia came out of retirement temporarily to help, efficient and cold as ever. The office felt sterile again. Dead. Owen cornered him on a Thursday afternoon, shutting Blake's door with more force than necessary. All right. What happened? Blake didn't look up from his screen. Nothing happened. You fired the best assistant you've ever had. You look like hell. And I just got a call from Marcus Webb saying you had Arya investigated. Owen dropped into a chair. Talk. She's Dmitri Volkov's sister. Owen went very still. The Volkov who tried to steal your patents? That's the one. Blake's voice was hollow. She lied about her name. Lied about everything. Probably laughing at how easily I trusted her. What did she say when you confronted her? Blake's hands stilled on the keyboard. He could still see Arya's face, the devastation in her eyes when he'd called her a mark. That her brother is dying. That she came here to atone for his sins. Do you believe her? Does it matter? Blake finally looked at his friend. She lied, Owen. For weeks. Made me think. He stopped. Made you think you could care about someone again. Blake said nothing. The silence was answer enough. Owen leaned forward. Did you ever ask yourself why she stayed? After the crisis, she could have disappeared. Mission accomplished, whatever the mission was. But she didn't. She was playing a long game. Or, Owen's voice was gentle. She was telling the truth, and you were too hurt to see it. That night, Blake couldn't sleep. He sat in his penthouse, city lights sprawling below, Owen's words circling like vultures. At 2 a.m, he made a decision. He called Marcus Webb. I need you to find Dmitri Volkov. I want to know if he's really dying. The investigator called back 6 hours later. He's at Mercy General Hospice ward. I spoke to a nurse. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. She says he's got weeks, maybe days. Blake hung up and stared at the wall. If Arya had lied about this, if she'd fabricated her brother's illness for sympathy, he'd know. He'd see it in her face. But if she'd told the truth. He grabbed his keys. Mercy General's hospice ward smelled like antiseptic and flowers fighting a losing battle. Blake moved through the quiet halls, his heart hammering. Room 347. The door was cracked open. He could see Arya inside, sitting beside a hospital bed. She was reading aloud from a book, her voice soft and steady. The man in the bed was skeletal, tubes snaking from his arms. But Blake recognized him.
Dmitri Volkov, 10 years older and 50 pounds lighter, but unmistakably the man who'd once been his partner. That's enough for today, I think. Arya closed the book. You should rest. Arya. Dmitri's voice was a rasp. I'm proud of you. You know that? Don't. Her voice cracked. Don't say goodbye yet. I'm not. I'm just saying what I should have said more. Dmitri's hand found hers. You tried so hard to fix what I broke. But some things can't be fixed, sweetheart. You have to let go. I can't. Arya was crying now, silently. If I let go, what was it all for? It was for you. To prove you're nothing like me. Dmitri coughed, the sound wet and horrible. Did he forgive me? Arya was quiet for a long time. No. Good. Dmitri closed his eyes. He shouldn't. But did he forgive you? I don't think so. Then go make him. Dmitri's words were fading. Don't waste your life on my sins. Go live. Blake stepped back from the door, his chest tight. He'd seen enough. Arya hadn't lied about this. Which meant. You came. Blake spun. Arya stood in the hallway, eyes red-rimmed but dry now. She looked exhausted. Defeated. Beautiful in a way that made his heart ache. I had to know, Blake said. If it was real. And now you do. She wrapped her arms around herself. You can go. Arya, Please. Her voice was firm. Don't apologize. You had every right not to trust me. I lied. About my name, about my past. I should have told you the truth from the beginning. Why didn't you? She looked at him then, really looked at him, and Blake saw the truth written in every line of her face. Because I knew you'd look at me exactly the way you're looking at me now. Like I'm tainted by association. Like I'm responsible for what he did. I don't think that. Yes, you do. Arya's smile was sad. And maybe you're right. Maybe I am responsible. I knew what kind of man Dimitri was. Ambitious, ruthless. I just didn't think he'd go that far. When I found out what he'd done to you, I cut him off. Changed my name. Built a new life. But it wasn't enough. So you came to work for me. I came to prove I wasn't him. She leaned against the wall, suddenly looking very small. I thought if I could help you, be useful, show you that competence and loyalty without an agenda, maybe I could prove to myself that the Volkov name didn't have to mean betrayal. Stupid, right? No. Blake moved closer. Not stupid. And then I made it worse by falling for you. Arya laughed bitterly. God, the irony. I came to atone, and ended up making everything more complicated. Blake's pulse was thunder in his ears. You meant it. When you said you fell for me. Of course I meant it. Her eyes blazed. I've never lied about my feelings, Blake. Only my name. Every moment we spent working together, every conversation, every time I looked at you and felt my heart do something stupid in my chest, that was real. They stared at each other in the fluorescent hallway, the beep of monitors and the hum of machinery filling the silence. I'm sorry, Blake said finally. For not believing you. For calling you a mark. For not giving you a chance to explain. You don't owe me an apology. Yes, I do. He reached for her hand. She pulled away. Don't. Please don't make this harder than it already is. Arya. My brother is dying. I'm losing the last piece of my family. I can't, her voice broke. I can't handle you being kind to me right now. I'll shatter. Blake wanted to pull her into his arms. Wanted to promise it would all be okay. But he couldn't. Because standing in this hospital, watching Arya fight to hold herself together, he realized the truth. He'd fallen for her too. Completely. Catastrophically. And it terrified him. I should go. Arya straightened, wiping her eyes. He'll be looking for me. She turned to walk away. Blake caught her wrist. I want to try, he said. To trust you again. To see if this he gestured between them. If this could be real. Hope flickered across her face, fragile as candlelight. Blake, I don't think. I'm not asking for forever. Just a chance. Arya looked at his hand on her wrist, then into his eyes. For a moment, Blake thought she'd say yes. Then her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, and her face went white. I have to take this. She pulled away, answering. Hello? Yes, this is she. Blake watched her face crumble as she listened. When she lowered the phone, her hand was shaking. That was Dr. Chen. Dimitri had a seizure. She couldn't finish the sentence. Blake pulled her close then, and Arya collapsed against him, finally breaking. Her sobs were silent and wrenching, and all Blake could do was hold her while the world fell apart. But over her shoulder, through the window of room 347, Blake saw something that made his blood run cold. Dmitry Volkov was awake. And he was watching them with an expression that was anything but dying. He was smiling. Blake froze. Dmitry's smile was sharp and calculating, nothing like the expression of a man at death's door. Then the older man closed his eyes again, his face going slack, and Blake wondered if he'd imagined it. Arya pulled away, wiping her tears. I should go to him. Wait. Blake caught her arm. Look at me. She met his eyes, confused. What? Your brother. He's really dying? What kind of question? Anger flashed across her face. Of course he is. You think I'd lie about that? I don't know what to think anymore. Arya stared at him, hurt and fury warring in her expression. You know what? You're right. You shouldn't trust me. Because clearly, no matter what I do, you'll always assume the worst. She yanked free and disappeared into Dmitry's room. Blake stood in the hallway, doubt eating him alive. He'd seen that smile. Or had he? Maybe it was just the morphine, a random muscle twitch. Maybe he was so paranoid he was seeing conspiracies everywhere. He went home. Poured a drink. Stared at the city lights until they blurred. His phone rang at midnight. Owen. We have a problem. Someone's been accessing our servers. Copying files. Blake sat up straight, ice flooding his veins. What files? Everything. Client lists. Proprietary code. Security protocols. It's been happening for weeks, small transfers we almost missed. But it's systematic. Whoever it is knows exactly what they're looking for. Can you trace it? Already did. Owen's voice was grim. Blake, it's coming from Arya's login credentials. The phone slipped from Blake's hand. No. No, it couldn't be. But even as he denied it, pieces clicked into place. Her perfect competence. Her access to everything. The way she'd wormed into his trust, become indispensable. The security crisis. God, the security crisis she'd handled so brilliantly. What if she'd created it? Blake called Marcus Webb. I need surveillance on Arya Carter. Now. And pull her financials. Everything. He spent the night in his office, Owen working beside him in silence. At dawn, Marcus sent the report. Blake stared at the bank records, his heart turning to stone. 2 days ago, a transfer. $500,000 into Arya's account from an offshore corporation. The same corporation Dmitry Volkov had used to funnel money 10 years ago. She played you, Owen said quietly. All of it was a setup. Blake's hands shook as he poured coffee he wouldn't drink. She seemed so genuine. The best liars always do. At 8 sharp, Arya walked through the office door. She'd clearly gotten no sleep, dark circles under her eyes. But she smiled when she saw Blake. I'm sorry about yesterday. I shouldn't have. Don't. Blake's voice could have cut glass. Just don't. Arya stopped. What happened? Someone's been stealing from my company. Using your login. The color drained from her face. What? No, I never. $500,000 hit your account 2 days ago from one of Dmitry's shell corporations. I don't know anything about that. Arya's voice rose. Blake, I swear, I have no idea where that money came from. Really? Blake stood, advancing on her. Because I'm starting to think this whole thing was a con from the beginning. The dying brother. The guilt. The way you made me feel, his voice cracked. Was any of it real? All of it was real. Tears streamed down Arya's face. I never touched your servers. I never took any money. You have to believe me. Why should I? You've lied before. I lied about my name. She was shouting now. But I never lied about this. I would never betray you like that. Then explain the money. Explain the data theft. I can't. Arya pressed her hands to her face. I don't know. But Blake, please, you know me. You know I wouldn't. I don't know you at all. The words came out flat. Final. I never did. Arya's face crumpled. She reached for him. Blake stepped back like she was poison. Get out. I'm calling the police. Blake, no. Please. Just give me time to figure this out. I can prove. Security. Blake's shout echoed through the office. 2 guards appeared. Escort Ms. Carter from the building. She's not to return. Blake, please. Arya was sobbing now as the guards took her arms. I love you. You have to believe me. I love you. Blake turned away, unable to watch. Get her out of here. Her cries faded down the hallway. Blake stood alone in his office, victory tasting like ashes. He'd been right not to trust. Right to protect himself. Right to. His phone buzzed. A video file from an unknown number. Blake's finger trembled as he pressed play. The video was grainy security footage from a coffee shop. Dated 3 months ago, before Arya had ever applied for the job. 2 people sat at a corner table. One was Arya. The other was a man Blake didn't recognize. Lean, cold-eyed, expensive suit. They were arguing. No, I won't do it. Arya's voice came through tinny but clear. He's a person, not a mark. You're getting soft. The man's smile was cruel. Remember what's at stake. You said this was about making amends. About letting Dimitri die with a clear conscience. I lied. The man leaned forward. It's about revenge. And you're going to help us take everything from Blake Montgomery. No. Arya stood. I'm done. Find someone else. The man's next words were ice. Then your brother dies without his medication. The expensive stuff keeping him comfortable. We cut the funding, and he spends his last weeks in agony. Arya sank back into her chair. You wouldn't. Try me. The video ended. Blake stood frozen, the phone slipping from his numb fingers. Arya had been blackmailed. Forced into this. And he'd just thrown her out and threatened her with police. What had he done? His office door burst open. Owen rushed in, tablet in hand. We were wrong. I just found the real breach. Someone cloned Arya's credentials remotely. She never accessed those files. And the money? Planted. The transaction was reversed an hour ago. It was never real. Owen's face was pale. Blake, someone set her up. They wanted you to turn on her. Blake was already running for the elevator. He had to find her. Had to apologize. Had to. The elevator doors opened on the lobby. Blake skidded to a stop. Arya stood by the fountain in the center atrium. She wasn't alone. The man from the video had her by the arm. 3 others surrounded them. And Arya looked terrified. Let her go. Blake's voice carried across the marble floor. The man smiled. Montgomery. Good. You should see this. He pulled something from his jacket. A flash drive. Everything you've built. Every proprietary algorithm. Every client secret. It's all right here. He held it up. I was going to take it and disappear. Let you think sweet little Arya betrayed you. But this is better. What do you want? I want you to choose. The man pressed a knife to Arya's throat. She gasped but didn't struggle. The drive, or her life. You can have your company's future, or you can have the girl who played you. Not both. Blake's world narrowed to the blade at Arya's neck, the terror in her honey eyes. Blake, don't. Arya's voice was steady despite the knife. Take the drive. Save the company. It's okay. Shut up. The man pressed harder. A thin line of blood appeared. Blake raised his hands. Okay. Okay. You win. Let her go, and the drive is yours. I don't care about the data. Blake, no. Arya struggled now. 3,000 people depend on that company. And I depend on you. Blake looked at her, letting her see everything he felt. I can rebuild code. I can't rebuild you. The man laughed. How touching. But I think I'll take both. He lunged, the knife flashing toward Arya's chest. And she did something Blake never expected. She grabbed the man's wrist, twisted hard, and drove her elbow into his throat. The knife clattered to the floor. The other men rushed forward, but Arya was already moving, fluid and fast, taking them down with brutal efficiency. In 30 seconds, all 4 men were on the ground, Arya standing over them, breathing hard. Blake stared. Who the hell are you? Arya met his eyes, and for the first time, he saw who she really was. Not a secretary. Not a victim. Something far more dangerous. My name is Arya Volkov, she said quietly. And I was a CIA operative before I became Dmitri's sister's keeper. Security flooded the lobby. Police sirens wailed outside. Blake stood frozen as the men were cuffed and dragged away, his mind trying to process what he'd just witnessed. Arya wiped blood from her lip where one of them had connected. She wouldn't look at him. CIA? Blake's voice sounded distant to his own ears. Former. She finally met his eyes. I left the agency 6 years ago when Dmitri got sick. Everything else I told you was true. He is my half-brother. He is dying. And I did change my name to escape his shadow. But you failed to mention the part where you're trained to kill people. Would you have hired me if I'd put that on my resume? A bitter smile touched her lips. I came here to make amends, Blake. That part was real. But when those men approached me 3 months ago, threatened Dmitri's care, I realized I couldn't do this alone. So I called some old contacts. Asked for help. The video was sent by my former handler. To protect me when everything went wrong. Arya wrapped her arms around herself. Those men worked for a competitor. They wanted your algorithms. They knew about my connection to Dmitri, thought they could use me. When I refused, they made it impossible to say no. Blake's mind spun. You could have told me. Could I? Her laugh was hollow. You didn't trust me even when I was telling the truth. How would you have reacted if I'd said, hey, I'm being blackmailed by criminals who want to steal your company, and by the way, I used to work for the CIA. She had a point. God help him, she had a point. What about the security breach? The one you handled so well? Real. But not connected to this. That was just bad luck and good timing on my part. Arya moved to the fountain, sat on its edge. I'm good at my job, Blake. Both of them. I read people. I solve problems. And I fell for you despite every instinct telling me not to. Blake crossed to her. Those men. They're not the only ones after the drive, are they? No. Her voice was quiet. There are others. Worse ones. The kind who won't stop at threats. Then you're in danger. I've been in danger since the day I took this job. Arya looked up at him. But I stayed anyway. Because working with you, being near you, it made me remember what it felt like to be human. Not an operative. Not Dimitri's keeper. Just Arya. Blake sat beside her. I'm sorry. For not believing you. For throwing you out. Don't. She put her hand over his. You were protecting yourself. I understand that better than anyone. They sat in silence as police processed the scene around them. Finally, Blake spoke. What happens now? I disappear. It's what I'm good at. Arya's voice was steady but her hand trembled in his. Those men will talk. Others will come. If I stay, I put you and your company at risk. So that's it? You just vanish? It's better this way. For who? Blake turned to face her. Not for me. Not after finally finding someone who sees me as more than a bank account. Blake. I love you. The words came out raw, unpolished. I know it's insane. I know we've only known each other 2 months. I know you're a former spy with a dying brother and apparently a talent for taking down armed men. But I love you anyway. Arya's eyes shone with tears. You can't. You don't even really know me. Then let me learn. He cupped her face. Stay. Help me protect the company. Let me help you with whatever comes next. We'll figure it out together. It's too dangerous. I don't care. Blake. Arya's voice broke. If something happened to you because of me, I couldn't live with it. I've already destroyed too many lives. You haven't destroyed anything. Blake pressed his forehead to hers. You've saved me. From loneliness. From being so closed off I'd forgotten how to feel. You made me remember what it's like to trust someone. Don't take that away now. A tear slipped down her cheek. What are you asking me? I'm asking you to choose. The mission, or us. Disappearing, or staying. Safety, or the possibility of something real. Arya pulled back, studying his face like she was memorizing it. If I stay, it won't be easy. There will be more threats. More danger. More secrets from my past crawling out. I can handle it. Can you? Can you really trust someone who's lied and kept so many secrets? Blake thought about the past 2 months. The late nights. The crisis they'd navigated together. The way she looked at him when she thought he wasn't watching. The feeling of her in his arms as she'd broken down over her brother. Yes, he said simply. I can. Arya's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face went pale. What is it? Dimitri. He's asking for me. She stood. Blake, I have to go to him. I'll come with you. They drove to Mercy General in silence, Arya's hand clasped tight in his. When they reached Dimitri's room, the machines were silent. A nurse stood by the bed, her expression gentle.
I'm sorry. He passed about 20 minutes ago. It was peaceful. Arya's knees buckled. Blake caught her, holding her up as grief crashed over her. She buried her face in his chest and sobbed, and Blake held her through it all, murmuring meaningless comfort against her hair. Finally, she pulled away. I need to see him. Blake waited in the hallway while Arya said goodbye. Through the window, he watched her sit beside her brother's body, take his hand, and speak words Blake couldn't hear. She stayed for an hour. When she emerged, her eyes were red but dry. He left me a letter. She held up an envelope. Want to know what it says? Only if you want to tell me. Arya opened it, reading aloud. Arya, if you're reading this, I'm finally free. And so are you. Stop carrying my sins. Stop trying to fix what I broke. Live your own life. Love someone. Be happy. That's the only apology I need. That's how you honor me. By choosing joy. Her voice cracked on the last words. Blake pulled her close. What do you want to do? He asked. Arya was quiet for a long time. Then she looked up at him, and in her honey eyes, Blake saw the decision forming. I want to choose joy, she whispered. I want to choose you. Blake kissed her there in the hospital hallway, amid the smell of antiseptic and the soft beeping of distant machines. It was gentle and fierce all at once, a promise and a beginning. When they pulled apart, Arya smiled through her tears. This is crazy. Probably. It's going to be complicated. Definitely. There are still people out there who want to hurt us. Then we'll face them together. Blake tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. No more running. No more hiding. Just us, figuring it out as we go. Arya laughed, the sound watery but real. You're either very brave or very stupid. Can't I be both? She kissed him again, softer this time. I love you too. In case that wasn't clear. It's getting clearer. They walked out of the hospital hand in hand, into the bright afternoon sun. Blake's phone buzzed with messages, crisis, and meetings, and 1,000 things demanding his attention. None of it mattered. Because for the first time in years, Blake Montgomery wasn't hollow. He was whole. Arya squeezed his hand. So what now? Blake looked at her, this complicated, dangerous, beautiful woman who'd crashed into his life and turned everything upside down. He thought about all the reasons this shouldn't work. All the obstacles they'd face. All the uncertainties ahead. Then he smiled. Now, we order terrible takeout. We argue about what to watch. We try to figure out how to be normal people who happen to have very unusual problems. That sounds nice. Arya leaned against him. Almost too nice. It won't always be. There will be hard days. Fights. Moments when we doubt this was the right choice. I know. She looked up at him. But I also know I'm tired of running. Tired of being alone. Tired of letting fear make my decisions. Then let's choose something different. Blake pulled her close. Let's choose to stay. They stood there in the parking lot, two broken people who'd found each other in the chaos. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't safe. But it was real. And sometimes, that's enough. 6 months later, Blake stood at his office window watching the fog roll in. Arya sat at her desk, now back in place, coordinating a major product launch with the same efficient grace she'd shown from day one. But now, when she looked at him, he saw something different in her honey eyes. Not calculation. Not guilt. Just love. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. Blake tensed, old paranoia rising. Then he read the message and smiled. New job offer, protecting what matters. Interested? Your CIA handler. He showed it to Arya. She read it, laughed, and deleted it. Not interested, she said. I've already got the only job I want. Yeah. Blake pulled her close. What's that? Learning to be happy. She kissed him softly. Turns out it's harder than taking down armed men, but the benefits are better. Outside, the fog swallowed the city. Inside, two people who'd thought they were too broken to be loved proved themselves wrong. One choice at a time. One day at a time. Together. The end.